Hi, Calvary kids. Welcome back to Moving Through the Bible with me, Lauren. We have been moving through the Old Testament part of the Bible and talking about prophets and the kingdoms of Israel after Israel split. This week, we are continuing to talk about the southern kingdom, Judah. Let's get ready to head into the Bible. Find a spot to sit crisscross applesauce where you can still see the screen, and go. Great spot choice. We need to find our telescopes to help us get into the Bible story. We look up high. No. We see it way out in front of us. We take a deep breath in and then out as we walk our hands forward and reach for the telescope. We put it up to our eye and adjust. And there's King Josiah. Hang on tight, here we go. We are out in front of a palace. The skies are blue and there's a very loud and large crowd of people. We push off the ground and come up to stand so we can try to look over the crowd and find out what's happening. We push through the crowd, putting our hands together and then out. We do it again. Together and then out. And then we get stuck midway through with our back leg up high as we hear someone say, "How can Josiah be king? He is only 8 years old." We're able to shove forward a little bit more. Push again, push again. We realize you're not stuck again. This time though, we're gonna be stuck with this foot back. We hear someone else say, "I hope he isn't a mean person like his dad was." Then all of a sudden, everyone looks up. We swing our leg down, we look up. We need to get a better view. We decide to become a bird so we can fly up high and see what is going on. We come onto our knees, lift up our wings, and then back down, and up, and then back down. Breathe in as we stand up, and out as we come back down. In, and out. In, and out. There he is! We see a boy wearing a crown standing above. He lifts his hand, and the crowd goes silent, and they bow to be polite. We fold forward too. We touch our feet, and then we swoop our hands up to a stand as Josiah says, "I promise to be a good king." And everyone cheers. We need to move forward through the Bible times just a little bit. We clasp our hands together like the long nose of a hippo. And then we fold forward, and we round our little hippo back, and then we swing our nose, our hands, side to side. And we stomp our feet as the hippo moves forward through the Bible times. See if you can stomp really high. Our hippo herd comes to a stop outside of a broken temple. Josiah is standing nearby, looking up at the temple. With his hands on his back and his chin stretched up high. He is older now. He is saying to a person standing beside him, "We need to worship God, not idols. We need to fix up the temple for God." There are a lot of workers nearby fixing the temple. They are picking up bricks and then putting them up high. Picking up high, high. One more. All of a sudden, we see a man run out of the temple carrying a very old piece of scroll very carefully. Scroll is kind of like a book, but it's all wound up around a little post. How would you carry something that is very fragile or easily broken? Well, he was holding it out in front of him. He stumbles a bit to the right, and then he stumbles a bit to the left. He comes down on one knee. He leans forward, and he holds it up for King Josiah. Coming back, we switch legs, and he begins to read, pulling the paper out. King Josiah leans his head to one side, and then the other side as he listens. Then he speaks. "This is the book of the law of God." Wow, we have a lot of work to do in order to live the way God wants us to. We can do better. King Josiah tore his robes. We reach one hand up and one hand back. We rip, and then the other way. And we rip. We pretend to rip apart our robes. Rip, rip. Then we lift our hands up and back and do the same thing. King Josiah was a faithful servant of God. He took the book of the law of God to heart, and he wanted to know what God would say. He sent for the prophet Huldah, who God spoke to. She told them God's message. This is what God says. I'm going to punish the people of Judah because they turned away from me and worshiped other gods. But because you were humble and sorry for your sin when you heard the law, you will have a nice life and die in peace and not have to see the punishment. Josiah went out and told the people to follow God and obey him like the book of the law said to do. As long as Josiah was king, the people followed God and obeyed him. It's time to come out of the Bible story. We sit down with our feet straight out in front of us. We take a deep breath in and out. We close our eyes and we think about how great it is when we all follow God's laws. Thanks for helping me tell the story today. We keep seeing Israel struggle to follow God's laws. They kept worshiping idols and doing things that made God unhappy. King Josiah, though young, led God's people back to him, and this made God really happy. King Josiah encouraged everyone to follow God's laws and not sin. But because we are human, we do sometimes make mistakes, and we don't always follow God's laws perfectly. This keeps us apart from God. Our memory verse this month ties into this. If my people turn from their wicked ways, then I will forgive their sins. That's 2 Chronicles 7, verse 14. The Israelites didn't have Jesus yet to help them stay in connection with God. Thankfully for us, Jesus came a couple thousand years ago, and because he followed God's laws perfectly, we are able to stay in relationship with God even when we mess up. That's it for today, Calvary Kids. See you next week.